passion for education, and I want to ensure that Black and brown boys and girls in urban communities saw a positive role model in the classroom that looked like them. And so when I was a teacher, I didn't see that many. One, I was the only Black male teacher in my school building for the first 2 years of my teaching career. And I was like, hey, man, like, this is a problem, right? Coming from Atlanta, Georgia, I went to HBCU, so I'm used to seeing Black teachers and Black professors. Moved to the Midwest, and I'm like, this is a problem, and realize that Black men only represent 2% of the national teaching workforce. And so we think about like the school to prison pipeline, the overdiagnosis of Black boys to special ed services, all the things that we see on a day-to-day basis of pushing our young men outside of the classroom, how that's impacting them. And I thought, and I still believe, that that's based upon not having Black men in education. And so our nonprofit, I started in 2014 with the hopes of diversifying the teacher workforce by getting young men and young women to answer the call to service, to become classroom educators, and hopefully at the end of the day become educational advocates, right? And so I've been doing this since 2014. And right before the pandemic, people were like, hey, Blake, how do you raise money for your nonprofit? Like, how do you write grants? Like, how do you secure sponsorships and funding and get donors? And I'm like, and I'm just giving the game away for free. Like, I'm like, hey, this is how you do this, how you write your proposal. This is, make sure you have a pitch deck in place, have a one-pager, keep it short, straight, and simple to the point. You want to make sure you're not complicating things, right? You want to ensure that you are laser focused on your niche. Who are you impacting your community? All those different things. And realizing I'm getting people grants, and they're getting awarded grants and helping them having, corporate deals and corporate sponsors, right? And I'm like, oh man, like, this is pretty cool. And I love hearing people's ideas and be able to strategize with them. And so I took that passion to now I'm helping coach and consult with aspiring founders of nonprofit organizations, not only get their tax exemption status, but we got to get to the money, because no money, no mission. So everybody wants to say, at the end of the day, I want to create this impact in my community. And only way that you're going to create that impact in your community is you have to raise dollars, right? And so truly find a passion to like helping people raise dollars to support their organization. So that's me, Chris. I know you're still getting some things together over there.
It's just not happening on Facebook. I'm not sure how to do it, and some of them saying they can't hear. So we just going to go ahead and chop it up here on IG, right? So Blake, thank you once again. We gave drop some gems on tonight and letting people know. Listen, how to build a sustainable nonprofit organization. And one of the biggest keys that we talked about last night, because I don't see any questions in the queue, was having that structure in place, right? So let's just go over that, because I heard people come and say, I got my pen and pencil ready tonight, right? Yeah. What does that beginning structure look like for a new nonprofit, right? Because we remember we're changing it, we're coming away from that whole begging and doing it yourself, right? So what is the first structure that I need to set up as an early nonprofit organization?
Man, do we have all night?
No.
No. Exactly, right?
Let's give
I'll say this,
they're
right?
coming into the master class, so we ain't going to give them everything tonight.
We're going to give everything in the end. But I will say this, right? And because I would say you need a board, and everybody will say you need a board. But when you're first talking to your board, they want to hear your idea. Like, what is your mission? What is your vision that you have for your organization? So you as a aspiring founder, aspiring CEO of your own nonprofit, you need to be able to clearly articulate what is the mission, what is the vision of my nonprofit organization, right? Because then once you have that cleared out, and you can really be laser focused on your community, your user base, we call it your unique avatar, right? The individuals you're going to particularly serving for the services, the programs, or the products you're going to offer to your community. Then you'll be able to talk to potential board members to help support that mission and vision. So I say the first thing for anybody that want to start a nonprofit, make sure you have a clear mission and vision for your organization, because that's how you're going to create supporters, allies, community stakeholders, partners, and identify your board members when you have that clear vision. But oftentimes, Crystal, when you get somebody who wants to start a nonprofit, they're like, I want to do this, and this. And it's like, well, this is just year one. We don't want to give them the full game plan, the full blueprint starting out. Like, let's just say, what does this first calendar year look like for your nonprofit?
Right.
You may want to, you know, combat childhood obesity, right? You may want to end world hunger. You may want to stop homelessness in your community. But what does that look like on the small scale on the next 90, 120, 365 days in the year, right? And then we say, okay, year 2, we're going to add to this current program that we currently have. We got a chance to fine tune it. We got a chance to pilot it, right? We got some data, some feedback, and now we can expand on those services.
Yes.
Now, oftentimes as nonprofit founders, we have this call to service. We're passionate about something. We feel like, man, God has put something in my heart. This is my purpose. And your purpose is sometimes blurred, right? Because you're like, okay, what do I want to do? What does this look like? I'm looking at other nonprofit organizations. This is what they do, and I want to do the same thing. Clear, concise, right? And you talk about that in your trainings that you do, like the you do a clarity workshop with your founders. And that's the first thing.
Yes.
Clear vision and mission for your organization.
Yes, exactly. Because, you know, like I said, when I started my nonprofit, I knew I was supposed to help age out foster youth. But because I went through so much in life, you know, I was molested, I was raped, I was kidnapped, I was homeless, I was an alcoholic, I was in domestic violence. So I was like, I can have about 8, 9 nonprofits, right? So I wanted to help everybody. I wanted to touch on that, right? But I shared with them before, or you guys before that, I remember doing a collaboration in the beginning. And when I sat with 2 other nonprofit organizations who was fully structured, right, that had their stuff together, and I'm telling them, oh, I want to do this, this, and this, and this, and they like, okay, well, you're not clear. Yeah, you're really not clear on who you want to serve, and we don't know where to place you at. So you're gonna have to excuse yourself. We're gonna have to step you back. And so I know what that looks like, because we all want to save the world. You know, we all have this vision. We all want to save the world. But there is a niche, because think about it. If we did everything and then somebody else doing everything, then it's going to be all over the place. We're not going to know where the funding going to go, how's it going to support it. And so what I did was, once I realized that I wasn't clear on my niche, on who I was supposed to serve, I had to get help. I took a coaching program. You know, I'm doing with everybody else. I'm teaching you how to get clarity on who you're supposed to serve. I had to do the same thing. So I'm not teaching anybody anything that I haven't done myself. I had to go get clear on the vision. Now, do I help girls who've been sex trafficking or molestation? Yes. I partner up with other organizations who do that. Do I help serve the homeless? Because I was homeless, I partner up with organizations who serve the homeless. And those are what you talked about yesterday, Blake, are your MOUs. Yeah. Those are your MOUs, partnering up with other organizations in your community, right? So I just love that when you talked about making sure that our vision is clear. And not saying that some of you guys, you know, you may have a vision for this and a vision for that and a vision for this and a vision for that. But when you're talking about starting a nonprofit organization, you don't want your board thinking about 10 different visions. You know? Yeah. Right? They go out and they're talking to the board's like, okay, wait a minute, yeah, we do help this, and oh yeah, we're going to feed the homeless, and then we're gonna go over here. Then people gonna be like, you know what? They're all over the place. Give them $20. Yeah. And I think about you know, Apple, right? And I'm using Apple as just an example. When Steve Jobs created Apple, he didn't think about the MacBook computer, the iPhone, the AirPods, the Apple Watch. He didn't think about the car that they're developing. He literally said, we're going to create one thing. And that was the Mac computer, the desktop version, right? Years after they mastered that, and it took them years to even master that one thing. Yes. It took them years to master that one thing. And then he said, okay, you know what? We mastered this desktop computer. Let's create something else. The iPod and then the iTouch and all these different things, right? So nonprofit founders, I always tell them too, like, when you're first starting out, you may have the passion to want to solve a lot of problems, and you may be truly passionate about, you know, homelessness, you know, food insecurities, you know, financial literacy, education, you know, global warming, whatever the case may be, right? And that's where partnerships come into place. Because now as a funder, I'm like, okay, Crystal,
I know you want to do all these other things. Who are you partnering with? I want to partner with this organization, that organization. Now, like, oh, okay, well, all this pressure is not on Crystal to execute on the scope of work in her proposal. Then also, it's like, okay, she has endorsement from potentially other organizations that are doing this work, and that's the sole thing that they do, right?
Yes, yes.
Collaboration over competition,
yes.
right? We're going to talk about that in the class too as well. But, I mean, that's the biggest thing, man, is collaboration over competition. When you see another nonprofit in your community that's like, oh, man, I really want to do what they're doing, don't feel like you have to recreate a new program. Reach out to that founder, say, hey, I'm doing something. I have a user group of people that can be a beneficiaries of your program and your services.
Yes.
How about we collaborate?
Exactly.
Right.
And making sure that that organization is operating correctly as well. That's one thing that we talked about in the Impact Circle. When I share different stories of other organizations partner up. And just one example, I had an organization, they partner up with another nonprofit organization, you know, to come together, and they had the one nonprofit to get all the funds. No agreement, nothing together, nothing in writing. And that nonprofit didn't give them anything. You know, they took all the funds. So when you're collaborating, make sure that that nonprofit is structured, operating, and integrity, right?
Yeah.
That they got everything in place. Because when you don't have this in place, and you're talking about going to grants, getting $200,000, $300,000 collaborating, you know, people get money, people get funny, right? So you,
I like that.
You know, we want to make sure, and that is why it's so important to have a community like what we have, the Impact Circle. Because what we do is we make sure that they come in and that they're structured and they're correct and everything is lined up, and they partner together within the community. We have different ones. One in Cincinnati and Atlanta. They're coming together, but they know that each one of those are structured correctly. So I think that's the greatest thing about it. But here's another thing. Those who are listening that have a nonprofit, right? They've been out here, they've been coming out their pocket, not asking anybody, not, you know, not getting the sponsorship that they're supposed to do, not putting books. They are really doing a disservice, right, to their community, but not structuring it, not getting ready for funding. So as a person, as we talked about in the beginning, I already have my 501c3, but now I'm looking for someone, or how can I get sponsors? What would be the second thing that we need to offer or get ready for the funding that we're looking for in our community?
Yeah, and I would say the big, we talked about this last night, and folks that didn't join us last night, you missed it. All right, we're going to give you some secret sauce again tonight. I think the second thing is, like, you have to know your numbers, right? So, like, when you have a clear vision, you have a clear mission, you can clearly articulate it in an elevator pitch. It doesn't matter if it's your donors, it don't matter if it's your board members, partners, right? I know how to articulate what my mission is for my organization. Now I need to know my numbers, right? Because now I know what I'm going to be providing to that community, and it's a cost that's associated with it. And we talk about this all the time, like, it doesn't matter if it's t-shirts you're buying for your volunteers to host the event, the tables, the event space, the collateral, the promotion, the marketing, the MCs, everything has a cost to it, right? Yeah. And you need to know those numbers. So when you go to a funder, say, hey, I'm going to run a 12-week program for 3 months, right? What does that cost for it? So I'm a funder, like, okay, Crystal, like, I'm giving you $100,000 to go run this program in the summertime. We know a lot of money is getting pushed out right now during the summertime. Summer programs are coming up, right? So if you're a nonprofit, you need to be ready for that summer funding. A funder wants to know those numbers. So, like, how many students are you going to serve? You know, what zip code are you going to be working with, right? Who are you, like, how long are you going to be working with these students? Pre-assessment, post-assessment, right? Once I get a group of students in or participants in my program in, what happens next? Like, what are we tracking? Because then when I report to that funder, they're like, oh, man, Blake served over 100 kids in East Atlanta. You know, he worked with age demographics of 13 to 16 years old, you know, reading literacy levels on this, and he grew his students to this grade level. Like, a funder wants to hear that because those are your metrics, right? And that shows the funder success. But it goes back to knowing those numbers, because if you don't know your numbers, now you just put in some fluff numbers on the paper, right? And the fund was like, okay, well, you said you're going to spend $5,000. Now, how did you spend that money?
Exactly.
Right? And grant reporting is big. So grants are awesome. I love getting grants. It's like, man, you got a fully funded program. You don't have to worry about like trying to find the money. You have $100,000. Hey, do what you want to do. But now when grant reporting comes up, it's like, okay, Crystal, I gave you this 100K. How did you spend it? And you need to know, how did you spend the money? You know, it's
documentation. Yes.
And so documentation is key, right? Documenting the process, right? And I know a lot of people talk about that. Documenting the process when you get dollars is very, very important.
Yes. That's good, guys. Listen, number one, getting clear on the vision. Number two, knowing your numbers, right? So if you're a nonprofit founder and you've been already out there working in the community, as we know, we talked to somebody before, came on the call, and they was like, oh, I don't know, no, you've got to know your numbers.
Yeah.
It's no way. And that's one thing I think I did in the beginning, and it's because I did it for two reasons. I wanted to know for myself, right, and report to my board. And I wanted to make sure that as I was getting funding, I was doing it correctly.
Yeah.
As someone gave me $1,000, $5,000, that I made sure that it was documented what I spent that $5,000 on if they asked me for a report. Hey, we need a report from you. What did you do with the money? Now, if I say, oh, we just helped the kids, they're like, okay, she's not tracking. There's no metrics with her. We can't give her another 5,000, right? And so I love that. So we got key number one, clear on your vision, making sure that you're clear and concise on who you are serving. That you're not over here serving Johnny, Paul, Becky down the street. You're cutting hair, and you're cutting hair down here. You're over here giving away food. Then you over here and you're what? Housing. You know what I'm saying? You got all these things. You're clear on your vision. Number two, knowing your numbers, knowing who you serve as a nonprofit, especially if you've been running it for no more 3 years. If you've been running your nonprofit for more than 3 years, and you've been in the community, you need to know your numbers. You need to have a metrics of what you have done and who you have served and what you have served, how you have served them in your community. So, we're going to give one more 3 gems. Number three.
I would say this one, I even said this one I didn't say this one last night. And I was talking, I'm like, we're talking about mission, vision, knowing your numbers, collaboration over competition, your board, how that's important. I think the other biggest thing, especially when you're trying to get to the grants, trying to secure funding, right, is being able to audit your process.
Yes.
Right. And I'll say this, because writing a grant, you're basically telling the funder, my assumption is if I get these dollars, right, I'm going to create this impact, right? And then when you get the dollars and you start doing the work, you're like, okay, this project is not going how I intended for it to be. You can't keep on running the race wrong, right? You need to stop for a second, assess where you are, and feel like, how do I make some adjustments, right, throughout this process? Because the funder wants to know, they don't expect you to have 100% conversion rates, 100% impact rates, right? Because again, one of the things they're trying to do for you in the community is like test out this assumption that you're thinking about. And so you have to be, as a leader, like, hey, let's take a pause of a team. Let's audit what we're currently doing. What is going right? What's going wrong? And I call it the grows and the glows, right? So like, what are some glows, some highlights that we're doing really, really good as far as this project narrative, as far as the scope of work? But what are some growth areas that we really need to stop for a second for, like, how do we improve, right, throughout this entire process to continue to make sure we can impact? Because I know a lot of times we have this grand idea in the proposal, we put it on paper, and we push it out to the market, and then like, I'm not really getting what Crystal's putting down, right?
Right.
And so at the end of the day, you're like, okay, do I continue to do this wrong and continue to get the numbers that I did not expect, or do I pivot? And so I said one of the biggest things for me when you're writing, not only when you write grants, but when you actually get the funding, is making sure you audit your program.
Yes.
You need to have measurable benchmarks throughout the program where you can assess, are we on pace to hit this goal, or do we need to stop for a second and reassess what we're currently doing and pivot to restructure how do we serve our community, right? And so I would say the third one is definitely auditing the processes that you put in the proposal for your grant application to ensure that you can meet your goals at the end of the day, to serve as many people as possible.
Awesome. Audit the process. You guys heard this. Number one is the clear vision. Number two, knowing your numbers. And number three, audit the process, right?
Yes.
So as those who have their 501c3, you guys should have been doing this, but are not, listen, no worries, right? You're going to be able to DM us funding. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because Monday, there will be no more free seats, right? We're going to literally share with you our 6-figure funding secrets, right? We're giving y'all some gems tonight. We're dropping in, but when I tell you, you're going to want to be on this masterclass. You're going to want to be in this masterclass. It is over 300 people already registered, but as Monday, it will be $297. No more free seats. Why? Because listen, we about the Father's business, and that is making sure that you are capable of getting the funding and getting educated on how important it is to get the funding correctly and to make sure that your nonprofit is operating in compliance with the IRS, right? That's number one. A lot of us want this money, but you ain't ready for the money.
Yeah.
You ain't ready.
Yeah. We call it being grant ready.
For the money.
Being grant ready, man. You got, oh my God, you're going to miss the boat if you're not grant ready.
Yeah. You're going to miss the boat if you're not grant ready.
Yeah.
And that is what we're looking to do, is to make sure that you are set up correctly. So you guys definitely want to DM. The seats are about to close. The free seats, the masterclass is about to close. You want to DM funding, right, for your free seat to the 6-figure funding secrets that Blake and I are going to be chopping up and talking about. Man, when I tell you, and also you guys might want to, VIP, because you get us, the Q&A, you get to come into a private group chat with us. You get some other goodies we got going on, but you have to click this link, get into it, grab your seat, because we're going to be going in and sharing. So tonight, Blake said, in order to be grant ready, is you want to make sure that you are clear and concise on your vision, right? And compelling. Let's add compelling. Yeah. Right? You don't want to just tell a vision, right, and clear, but it's not compelling. Like the dog ran down the street. You're like, okay. I'm not drawn to that. Yeah. When I think about compelling, I always think about a statistic. So I say 20,000 youth aged out the foster care system with absolutely no place to call home. Right? So now that's compelling. That's like, what? Why? How can this be happening? What can I do to stop this from happening? How can I be a part of it? That's compelling. That's me giving information, and now I'm drawing the person in to act. And it's clear. I said exactly the statistics. That's a fact, and it was clear. I told you who they were, and I told you the problem. I didn't get on and say age out foster youth, they have no place, and then they get on drugs and they in jail and they in prison, and I didn't do all of that. I was clear, right? So Blake said we need to be clear and concise and compelling on the people that we're serving. We don't want to go into all this detail. We want to be clear, right? So when you think about if you're looking for a hairdresser, you just move into a new location and you're riding down the street and none of the hair salons have hair salon on it. They just have Jane Doe, Betty Sue, blah, blah, blah. You'll be driving around in circles because nobody identified their audience, what they were doing, who they were serving. It's the same thing with your nonprofit. As we begin to get out there on social media, you want them to stop and say, that's who I want to help, age out foster youth. Because I heard that I didn't know it was that many that age out the system, but she just told me. I'm clear. She helped them to become self-sufficient. I see her vision. Clear, right,
Yeah.
Blake? I'm
And I
clear.
think, and the biggest thing you said, I like you said compelling, because people understand your pain point or your story is the connection, right? And so when you start off by saying 20,000 youth, right? When I say 2% of the teacher workforce is Black men, and then people start thinking in their head like, man, how many Black male teachers did I have growing up? Can I count on my hand to see how many? Like, that's the attention grabbing like data point that you need to have in your pitch when you're talking to potential funders, because then they can be like, oh man, that tugged at my heart, right?
Yes.
People feel, oh man, that person, what they just said, they're very crystal clear, right?
Yeah.
They're concise, and at the end of the day, it's compelling enough where I'm like, somebody in that room knows somebody that knows somebody, or personally has been through that experience, right? And I always say, nonprofit founders, either one, they see a need in their community, they want to address it. Something happened to them, either positively or negatively, and they feel like they want to make an impact or change. Or high income earner, they make a lot of money, and it's like, you know what? I want to invest into the community and serve my community, and I want to put dollars back into my community, right? Those are the type of three people that I think about want to start nonprofits. So you have to think, when you're sharing your story with people, that's the reason why, right? And they want to be, it needs to be compelling enough where they feel like, man, I want to support Crystal. After Crystal just shared her story with us just 30 minutes ago, I'm like, I want to support her nonprofit, right? She shared her personal story as a testimony, and that's why she started her nonprofit, and that's the user group that she plans on serving under her nonprofit.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Listen. And then we talked about number 2, knowing your numbers, guys. Knowing, if I didn't know my numbers, I wouldn't have known I did $500,000, right? I wouldn't have known that I built a 6-figure nonprofit. I would have been like, oh, we helped a lot of people. We gave money. We gave toys. I can tell you how many coats we gave away. I can tell you how many toys we gave away. I can tell you how many people ate that day. I can tell you how many people we served that day, right? I can tell you to the T throughout the years how many, right? And that is so important in knowing your numbers, because think about it, as Blake said the other night when we were talking about events, right? You got this event, you got this ideal, you want to put this event together. But most of the time, as a nonprofit founder, we don't think about how to go get those funds. You know, we sit back and we like, oh, you know what? I'll put up this money. I'll buy this. I'll go to Dollar Store. Dollar Store adds up. I go in the Dollar Store, I can spend $50 alone in my own household. I couldn't imagine going to the Dollar Store on my funds to complete an event. No, I'm going to put together a budget to break down what that event's going to look like. But I know we're going to get deep, Blake. We ain't going to give them to it. We ain't getting
I was about to say something right when you said that. I was like, I'm gonna give people this. All right, it's just on my heart. So I'm, you know, again, you make sure you click the link below. It's the DM funding to Crystal. Make sure you sign up. But what Crystal just said, and I know this too, when you write grants, and that's why I say it's so important to know your numbers, because you have to write a budget, right?
Yes.
If you want to get a $25,000 grant, $50,000 grant, the funds want to know how you plan on spending that budget. So when Crystal said she got coats donated, book bags donated, maybe food donated, it's a cost associated with that, even though she got it, and we call it nonprofit world in-kind donation. And that's still in your budget. So now she can look back and say, you know what, I received over $10,000 worth of book bags, $5,000 worth of food, you know, $20,000 worth of clothes, or whatever the case may be. Now I add all this stuff up. It's in kind, but it's still in my organizational budget. So now if I get that in kind next year, I know my numbers, and I go to the funder and say, hey, I know to do this back to school drive, this feed the hungry, and the Thanksgiving time, it's going to cost me $35,000. I need this on my clothing, this on my coats, this on my food. So that's why it's so important, right? To know your numbers. And even when you get things in kind, you want to put an estimated value on those items depending on where you got them from. Right?
And that's it, because I didn't when I first started my nonprofit, and my account would say, we got to create a budget. And I was like, a budget? I'm going to create a budget with nothing. Wait, how do you do that? But we're going to show you how to do that. You guys got to come into the class. We're going to show you how to get this funding, how to move your nonprofit, and structure it to receive the funds that you need for your organization. We definitely need you guys to click funding, right? So you can secure your seat to learn our secrets on how we was able to build a 6-figure nonprofit organization. And most of it wasn't through grants. It was through funding, corporate sponsorships. But as of Monday, it will be no more free seats. So you got till tomorrow. Well, actually tonight, right?
Yes, tonight.
Sunday. Y'all got to tonight, midnight, to get these free seats. DM the word funding to secure your free seat. You want to share this with a friend, right? You got a friend that you know who's been struggling with her nonprofit. She's been begging you for money. She's been not really getting out and struggling. You definitely want to share it with the friend. Say, hey, listen, I seen Blake and Crystal on IG, and they was talking about how you can secure fundings for your organization. They're teaching you their strategy on how to build a 6-figure nonprofit organization, and mostly without taking money out your pocket.
That's the big
right. Not funding out of your pocket.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited, guys. Click that link. Let's go. Blake gave you the keys tonight. He said, clear vision, know your numbers. And what was the last one, Blake?
Audit the process.
Audit the process. I love that. Audit the process. You know what? I was doing it in the beginning, but I didn't know the name. I didn't have it like that until I started growing. Yeah. And then when people started asking me, I was like, oh, I did this. This is how I did that. This is how I did this. And so to hear you say it, I'm like, Dad, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was auditing the process. I was learning my numbers. And I was practicing my clear vision, knowing who I was going to serve. Because after losing that $375,000 grant with that organization, I was like, never again. Yeah. You know, and so guys, listen, we are excited. Me and Blake, we fired up. We can't wait to see y'all on the 19th. We're going to turn it up. Come in here with your cameras on. Have you some good lighting. Have you sitting down with your notebook, pen, and paper, because we're going to give you tools that you can leave that and be able to go do the things that we've taught you to do, right? We're not fluffing, puffing, or anything, right?
Yeah.
So we definitely want you guys to definitely come in, hear what we're talking about, being able to grow your nonprofit organization and make it a profitable nonprofit organization, right? Stop begging, stop scraping, stop struggling. You can be a profitable nonprofit. Blake said it last night. He said IKEA. He said Rolex. All these organizations, university, YMCA, Boys Club, all of these companies are nonprofits and they're making a profit. They have employees that they pay. They have presidents, CEOs, right? They are making a profit from their nonprofit organization. So we're going to clear your stinking thinking. And we're going to take you to the next level so that you can be the best you in your community. Right, Blake? What else you guys say? Give it to the people, man. And then we're going to let them go.
Hey, man, we can keep on going because there's so many things I want to say.
Nobody had a question, though.
Yeah, nobody had no question. I would say, man, one of my biggest things I hope that we get from the masterclass on the 19th is that I believe it's going to be a lot of partnerships formulated in that masterclass.
Yes.
So big when you have multiple nonprofit founders in the building, you know, thousands of people that's, you know, on the same wavelength of thinking about like, okay, I want to make impact. How can I work with your organization to help us create bigger impact? And so I hope that, man, everybody make sure you DM Crystal Funding. Click on the pinned message in the chat below. Make sure you follow the steps to sign up. Because like you said, on Monday it's going up. I got so much I want to tell people. You know, we're going to talk about budget narrative, project narrative, how to find grants, how to get partnerships, how to get MOUs, letters of support, letters of inquiry submitted. It's so much money out there for nonprofits. I just
So much.
yesterday, like Giannis, the NBA player for the Milwaukee Bucks, is giving $1 million out right now to the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area for mental health services. So I said, if you're a nonprofit in Milwaukee and you're in the mental health space, you have a celebrity, an NBA professional right now is giving $1 million. What could you do with $150,000, $100,000, $50,000 for your nonprofit that's serving mental health space?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my big thing on the 19th, when you come, we're going to make sure you get ready, right? And you stay ready. And so, and you're grant ready, your sponsorship ready, your funding ready, and you are in position when people do have the opportunity to invest into your nonprofit. You're not scrambling around to get your documents in order, right? Hey, woe is me, like wave your hand, donate to me. You're already in position. And that's the biggest thing on the 19th. We're going to make sure you're in position to get funding for your nonprofit.
Yeah.
Multiple angles, right? Fundraising, grants, sponsorship, donations, fee for service, you name it. We're going to make sure that you're in the game and you're ready for it.
Yes. And that's amazing, Blake, because you want to, when you said that, a lot of grants, they want to know what other funding resources do you have.
Oh, yeah.
And if you only got them, they like, no, we don't know because we can't sustain you. We may not. So there's other resources. So we're excited. As Blake said, click that link. And the funding, right, for your free seat as of midnight, the price will be $297 to get into this masterclass, our 6-figure funding secrets on the March the 19th. We're ready to go. I'm going to listen, say, I didn't see any questions. So I think tonight, Blake, we gave them some gems that they was just like, okay, they dropping fire. March the 19th, we're going to go in tomorrow. And anybody on here who has a nonprofit, put a 1 in the chat. Let me see. Those who are on here have a nonprofit, put a 1 in the chat. I told you guys we're going to be going live every single night till the 19th on here. And we just want to make sure we're speaking. Okay, Devil One, what's the name of your nonprofit? Hey, Tanya. Hey, Toya.
Oh, we got some good.
Yes, let's go. So we got 3 nonprofits in here. Guys, make sure you register. And I know you guys did because I think I seen you on last night. But I hope you got some gems on tonight, making sure that you are clear. But guys, when you come on March the 19th to the masterclass, you guys are going to leave there for the Heart Center. Yes. Hey, sis. You guys going to leave there with tools to help you grow a successful, profitable nonprofit organization. And if you leave there and don't do the work, shame on you.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah.
But Blake, we got anything else to say? Are we good? We great? Cut it off. What?
I would say, I'm glad we got some people in the nonprofit spaces in here, man. I would say this: when you come to the 19th, make sure you got your notebook ready. You ain't gonna have your notebook. I'm new school, so have your Google Doc ready, right? To type up some stuff. You never know. We may drop some links in the chat for you to have to download some resources. And like Crystal said, man, both of us are currently running nonprofits right now. So we're teaching you things that we're currently doing in our own nonprofits to help us raise money. And so, what if I don't have my nonprofit yet? Oh man! So guess what? You need to be joining the Impact Circle with Crystal.
Yes.
Started, and she's gonna make sure you get structured properly. And the biggest thing we started a nonprofit is getting it structured properly, right? There's a lot of different things. You want to have chapters. There's different tax code. Most people are 501c3s, which are charitable organizations. Some people are C4s, C6, C7s. But that's why Crystal's there, because she is the go-to for all things nonprofit. You want to make sure you tap in with her to make sure your documents are right, because you can't be grant ready if your documents are not right.
That's right.
So yeah.
That's it. Now, Tanya, what you want to do is DM me and let's get on a consultation with our nonprofit compliance so we can make sure that you're set up correctly. Okay, you already have your 501c3. Let's make sure we do good justice to your name. Yeah. So just go ahead and DM me and we'll get on a call with our nonprofit compliance director. So awesome, guys. Well, thank you for joining us on tonight. We will see you on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. But we'll be dropping more gems. You are welcome. But March the 19th, If you didn't register, you guys, the seats are gone as of midnight. You'll be paying $297, which is way below budget, even the free seats. But we saw a need in the community to help those who have been starting their nonprofit and struggling. I was on the call all these last couple of weeks, and people got these nonprofits and make no money. No money. They're coming out their pocket. They're struggling. They've been taken out of their household. All they're doing is probably just feeding 20, 30 people when God has called them to feed masses, to serve masses of people, to build houses, to get these apartment complexes, to get these. You go downtown and all these empty buildings, those are supposed to be for you.
Yeah.
But because you haven't structured yourself and put yourself in position to be grant ready, you do not get it. So that is why we're doing what we're doing, because your community is our community, right? When you change your community, you change our community, because that begins to change the world. And if everybody will come into this class and do the work, we're going to have an amazing world. We can't complain about something we ain't willing to change, right? We're not willing to do it. We cannot complain about it. So you guys have a great night. I'm ready to learn and get grant ready. I know that's right. Come on in. I know that's right, Tanya. Come on in. She said, I'm ready. I'm ready. And we're ready to help you, sis. So we're excited. Remember, on camera, have some good lighting. Come with your computer. As Blake said, Google Docs, because you may be getting some downloads. Blake may be dropping some grants for y'all to go ahead and apply for right then and there if you're ready, right? We don't want you going out there looking crazy if you are ready, but we are here to serve you. And guys, have an amazing, amazing night. Love you, Blake. I see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
I appreciate
Bye, everybody.
Bye.